Rob, you're on mute too.
How's that? Hopefully that's better. Yeah.
Much better.
Okay, thank you. So like we did last week, we just did the pencil rough and the color rough. I think that it's a great way to go. So let's just kind of start off that way. If you can hear that noise back there, that's the, sorry about that, the gardener. They're always waiting until right when I start. Okay, so I'm gonna take that big hillside. I'm gonna pull it past it. There's a center. I'm gonna pull it past the center and try not to go right into the center. It looks very close to the center though. Just generally a better idea to avoid the center. And then we have sort of a tree line coming out. And then we get some really interesting cloud situations in there. So we have well, let's forget about any piece on there first. Let's just get all the basics on there. And then we have this path that goes back and forth. And I like some of the other paths and the other ones. So let's see, I'm gonna look for, I think,
number 2.
I'm gonna do the path on Eaton number 4. It gets kind of rocky there.
I'm coming directly to you for ask a quick favor. Will you add your name today to join our team? I said from the outset of this election that we're in a battle for the soul of this nation. Who we are, what we believe, who we want to be. It's all at stake. And that's truer today than ever.
We have these really round
come and move forward
down
together. So please.
They start at the top of the mountain and they're all jagged. And they grind down and they go down the hills. And I just kind of like the layout of that one. It's not such a literal path. It's more of a, almost like I just kind of like the or something. It's not such a literal. Just put them in like spokes on a wheel, these little things. Base of the yucca. Except this might have a few of them down there. Whatever you like. And those yuccas are everywhere. You can do almost anything you want with them. They're all over. So I'll go back to number.
Your picture frozen.
Number 2 has a really white yucca in it. That's why I grabbed that one. It's kind of a neat photo too. But I like the way that yucca just fills out. And by the way, they fill out so white sometimes it's just ridiculous. So again,
Well,
you can do almost anything you want with
your frame is frozen.
You get a nice big white top to them.
Rob, no
Generally
picture.
my
Rob,
layout.
your picture is off.
I'm just basing it on a whole bunch of photos. Looks like you might need something around here, probably.
Maybe
Yeah,
you can't hear
some
it.
weeds and a couple of rock things over here.
Rob?
Just
We
keeping
cannot
us
hear you.
inside, you know, darting us
See.
back up into the path there. And maybe a couple little rocks down here, possibly.
Rob,
Just darting us right back up into it. And then my whole reason, again, we talked about this last time. Those cloud shadows. I never really got to do the cloud shadows last week. And these are amazing ones. So, but notice how they cast down the hill and then up, and then down the hill and up, and they just sort of stair step and wait yourself.
Can
Even though it's a
somebody
pretty
call
soft
him?
shadow.
I'll call him.
Look at the way
Thank
the
you.
shadow goes up forms, down forms,
Oh,
up forms, down
Sherrill.
forms, maybe even
Mobile.
down
Which phone
into this very vertical
Calling now.
sort of canyon there. All right,
Please leave your message for
I need to turn that off, but I can't.
But Rob,
Okay,
there's no video. We can't see your picture.
maybe a shadow there, and maybe I like how the shadow just on the top of this hill really reveals the shape
I'll
of
keep
it.
calling him. Maybe he'll realize.
Let's see what George.
Tag something along there if you like.
What?
Oh, can't see you. Oh, can't see me. Just hold on. I'm gonna get out and get back in. Let's see.
Good job, Henry.
Thanks.
You guys, can you see that?
No.
No. Okay. Hold on.
Your camera is off.
Just
Okay.
okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you
Okay.
can you see everything?
Yeah, the problem was that your video was frozen and you had stopped. You were talking, we could hear you talk, but
Yeah.
your video was frozen and we didn't see you drawing.
Oh no.
And I don't think you could hear us either.
No, but I thank you for drawing it on there. That's a great way to do it. As I saw it go white on the background, I'm like, huh? Am I frozen again? Looks like I'm frozen again.
I'm not seeing you.
You moved to the bottom of the gallery.
I think it's frozen.
Oh,
Is it
Did you
frozen?
log off and then come back, Rob?
Yeah, I did. Hold on.
Sometimes that's a good fix, but
Rob, you have to be able to answer your phone too, because George was trying to call you and then you were
Well,
not
that's
taking
why.
the call. That's why
Well, that's
when
what the
phone
call
rang. Yeah, so sometimes it's up. Trying to reach you. Mayday, mayday.
maybe text is better then. We could text you and then you could see the text.
Can you see my hand now?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
no, but fix that.
Right there?
Yeah, now I can,
Yes.
gotcha.
Okay, let's hope that works. Okay. All right. So you missed a lot of this, huh?
Yeah,
Want me to redo it?
That's okay.
yeah, fine.
Oh, well, I'll just narrate what I did. So I came in with this. I did the background here. I just basically threw in some very large ideas of some cast shadows going over the mountains. There's a little bit more of one right there. And then I threw in, I went to the, I think it's number 2.
Number 4 for the foreground.
The number 2 for the yuccas here. And I just use that white just to show you, you know, what you can see for a yucca. It actually can be huge. This is a really big fat one. It can be like that. Sometimes they're really small. It just depends. Sometimes they're 20 feet tall. I mean, they're really big. But then I use number 4 for my passage, the sort of passageway through here, the path. So I use that also for the rocks. Maybe I have a sort of a little just a little grass line there with some rocks next to it and more rocks if you like. And I'm using them around here just to kind of block your eye, keep you in, and sort of shoot you back into the photo. This hook is about there. And then any sort of rock formations you want to put in there, they could be anywhere. And some little brush, sagebrush. Overlapping the path can be really nice. The more overlapping you get, usually, you know, the more of a sense of depth you get. That's why you'll see me take a rock in front of another rock, or maybe a rock in front of the yucca here, or something like that. But I like how we get these little embankments and then it shoots downwards. And then we're on another level. So this is like up on another high level up here. You may have some rocks up there, which are really fun. And you get them shooting down the side. Those are my favorites. That reminds me, I was just at the gallery. Just went over and visited Marcia after a long time. I haven't seen her. And she's doing really well, by the way, you guys. I mean, she's really been exercising. Wow. Looking good. And what else? She sold a painting of mine, so I went down there and we talked. And then there was someone in there, we were talking about it. He really liked the painting where I did this one at Eden Canyon where it's like an embankment. Because I really like this painting. Like, thank you. I really like that painting. It's just the kind of thing you would just see on the side of the path. No big deal, but I like that stuff. You see, you don't need to clutter with any more than that. So, by the way, some of the other pictures have some really nice clouds in them as well. So I noticed number 4 has some beautiful clouds in there too. So I'll stick with this. These are very soft edge. I'm going to go with these shadows right here on my mountain. Throw those in. Kind of formally. Something right under this little cloud patch there. We have a very light sky. So not much value up in the sky at all. And then we have this dark silhouette of a mountain right here in the foreground, and I'm just using the side. This is why I love using the side of my pencil, because I can just take that out in a second. Here's an idea too. I mean, I think on number, let's see. Oh, on number 1, we get some little light patches on this foreground mountain here. I forgot about that. So how about maybe what we could do, just if you like, we take our yucca up and over, maybe have one of those lights hitting one of the sides of the mountain there. They're streaming down behind this. I mean, you can almost do anything you want with these shadows. These clouds could be anywhere casting shadows. And soften up those edges a little bit. And because our light would be coming about like this angle here, and the giveaway is down on the ground. If you look, you can see the shadows. Our yucca would probably have some shadows on this side. We could showcase going that way. We could put some dark behind this one to showcase that yucca a little bit. Get these little cast shadows on the ground. All of these little rocks and things. Remember on the left side and then the bottom. Left side, bottom, and then give it a little cast shadow on the ground. Left side, bottom, cast shadow. A little cast shadow on the ground. Same with the shrubbery here. There's some little shadows on the ground. You could even pretend there's maybe a little closing shadow here, dramatizing this whole area. Who's to say there's not a cloud casting a shadow over some of this foreground? It could be. Okay. And that's pretty decent. So again, I'm going to start with my big shapes here, background shape. Let me get lost in the clouds there. I think I can probably just, I don't really need to outline all these shadow shades. Very lightly if you want to. We'll do a lot of that with the color. We do have this sort of yucca shape in there. And I just throw it in like that. I throw in the bottom part like that. There's really no sense in putting in every little detail at this point. We'll just paint them in for color. Just make some color choices, that's all. Get a lot of switchbacks in our little path there. One of the reasons I like doing it twice or 3 times, you may come up with a little bit better shape. You don't have to exactly copy what you did the first time. You may end up coming up with something better. I usually find after I do it a couple of times, I'll come up with something better. Clubs. Clubs everywhere. Put them anywhere you like. That's about all the drawing I do. That means I'm not overdrawn, and I can make up a lot with the color. I guess the best place to start is the sky. Why not? It's a very light blue sky. I'm using ultramarine. Very light blue. You might even want to throw a little Prussian in there if you like. Put a touch of green in it. I always wonder though if that's more of the camera's coloration the way I actually see it. I'm not sure. Very light blue. And I like to bring that right behind the mountain there. Clearly, we have a neat little area of blue right here. Like that. It's kind of neat how it just breaks through occasionally in there. Just creates some interesting shapes. I like to bring that right behind my mountain. You know, the local color of that mountain, it's got some highlights on it. It's got that exposed rock on it. So what we could do is it's got, I mean, this is spring. This was shot in spring and it's got a lot of green in it. So greens and browns, I would use Prussian blue and yellow. I'd go with the lemon yellow because it's farther away, and lemon yellow is a little on the cool side. Doesn't have so much red in it. At the same time, there is some red in that hill. We have some little highlights on there, so I'm going to just kind of avoid where the highlights are. Right there, I see some neat little highlights in there. The big ones there. That's just the exposed rock. The rest of it's just the local color of the grass and some exposed rock too. Let's work my way up into here. Then I'm going to go ahead and throw in a couple of like sienna colors, just brownish colors. And I just make those by adding red, yellow, and blue together. And see, I just tag it in there a little bit here and there. See, that just reddens it up a little bit. I don't know if you can actually see that, but it really does. There's even a little bit of yellow on that hill. Just don't want to lose these really bright highlights. That's good enough. This foreground hill here is very dark because it's all in shadow. So I'm going to move to the number 1. It's just got some really great looking descriptive lights and shadows on it. And I'm not going to do it exactly like it is. I'm just going to shoot myself some lights and shadows going down that hill. But I will say that the local color of that hill has got a lot of green in it too. And the other one, number 3, has even more green in it. So there's a lot of green in that. What I'm going to do here is just hit more. I'm going to hit green in it, and it's probably the same colors of green as this is, except that's further away with a lot more atmosphere. So I'm going to kick these up a lot more saturated with your Prussian blue. You know what? I'm going to go for cad yellow on this one. Just really go for the saturation on this green here on this hill. Because I want them to separate, and I'm not worrying about the shadows so much yet. We'll shoot the shadows in after it's all dry. We get some serious yellows on this hill too, don't we? A lot of exposed. We're going darker than that. Yellows and oranges. A few of those. I'm just going to bring those down. Remember, this is the color without the shadow on it. If you were wondering. What's that Rob up to? You know, and there's a lot of greens over here too, and they're probably something in between. We could just throw the shadow right over them, but I was hoping to put, I noticed they just don't bounce off the mountains very well on number 1. So I'm going to go back to number 2. That silhouette up against the mountains here looks really good. I'm just going to, even though I know there's a lot of green in it, I'm just going to throw this in there first, very similar to this. And then we'll throw it all in silhouette later. And you might be asking, why don't you just throw it all in silhouette? Well, I want this green popping through the color. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. Sometimes I'm just as surprised as you are. And then we have a lot of green shrubbery up in here, and you'll want to increase your yellow in your greens as you get closer up because it's just more saturated. I might go for like cad yellow up in here and a lot of these. Maybe a little more. Yeah. Greens. Now I'm looking at number 4 on these foreground elements. I'm doing a hodgepodge of 4 for some of this pathway and shrubbery, and then I'm going back to number 1 for some of these foreground, for like the yuccas and things like that. It's just a hodgepodge of different elements. So I rarely go off just one photo. You can. Some of these sagey things, you have even more blue in them. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just laying this in like spokes on a wheel here. Just that one. These guys here. I'm getting a little carried away with this thing. I'm almost doing a painting here. What am I doing? You can get carried away in these roughs to the point where, hey, I was just looking for coloration. So I give myself a time limit on it, you know, about no more than like 10 minutes or something like that. Because otherwise, you're sitting there and suddenly you've done a painting, and they can be really nice too. These little guys. Okay. Something like that. Very nice. I want a kind of a peachy colored path here. It's actually very light. Isn't that special? And then for the yuccas, I mean, they're really kind of a very light yellow or almost white. Just get the slightest touch of yellow in them. And what we can do is we can surround them with shadows, and that's what will give them the drama. So now it looks like I think our background is mostly dry. I'm going to go back to number 3 and throw myself in some shadows with probably, I'm going to use the ultramarine blue with just a hint of magenta in it. And I'm noticing how this one just, oops, make yourself up a lot of it. We'll definitely use it. We'll shoot it down the hill there. Maybe it's a little bluer than that. Let's just shoot it down the hill. Make sure you get it right up and under that cloud. Of course, I guess at this stage it doesn't really matter. Just going to shoot it down that side, up this side, down. Just describe the contour of the mountain right over there. Get another one from here. You could certainly go a little more saturated than you think with the color. I'm going to take a little more magenta. I'm going to do these foreground ones here. Take a little more magenta. And I'm using Eden number 1 as my model for this one. And I'm going to shoot down a shadow. This is kind of cool. You can see how it really separates the foreground from the background. Notice I increased the value a little bit darker in the background. So, yeah, we got some neat ones shooting down. Now I hit a lot of magenta in that, and I forgot glazing magenta over green will gray the color. So I think I'm going to switch to something a little bit more blue. So see, by doing this little color rough, we really learned something. I'll use this little shadow to set this yucca off there. And I'm going to take that right behind the other yucca. Really set that off. Oops. No. Good enough. Just using that shadow behind it to really set that off. I'm going to come back here and throw myself in just a dark right up against that hill in the background, just for a silhouette. Take that whole tree line and silhouette it against that background. And that makes my other little yucca stand out. fun. And then we have all these white rocks. Eden Canyon is just full of all these arroyo type rocks. And they get shadows off to the left side and cast shadows on the ground, just like we did on the drawing. Everything has a shadow. These little shrubs, they'll have a shadow on the left side and then they'll have a cast shadow on the ground. Just like the rocks, same thing, same thing, same thing. Even all this big ball of yucca spears or whatever they're called, will cast a shadow onto the ground. Maybe it'll even get a little shadow on the side of it. Just like in the our little drawing here, I can throw a little shadow, a little steep shadow. See that on the little side there? And I can just take a little bit of water to loosen up that edge. Just to close the corner in there. Certainly could kind of do the same thing over here. For shadows could be doing anything you want. Ooh. Wow, yeah, this really picks up the value, but it doesn't pick up the color. I got reds in here and all kinds of things. But at least it picks up this live stream isn't, you just can't get the resolution. And remember your areas that just don't receive very much light. At the base of things, down at the base, that's where you're going to get some little dark things happening. Pop little things like that. Mostly in the foreground. I wouldn't put them way back here, even though they might look really dark. Oftentimes the camera will register a dark back there the same as it is in the foreground, but you're up there with your own eyes. Take a look. Really not usually like that. And that gives us a plan right there. All right. We got a plan. I've got some watercolor paper. It helps to have a little value sketch and a little color rough there. I mean, it really gets you prepared. Plus, you've made so many decisions. So, let's see, is that a little too high? Maybe I'll bring it down a little bit so I can get some more clouds in there. Those big choices first. I'm using Eden number 3 to do those, just like on the other. One comes way over. And we have those neat little silhouettes. We have the mountain. Clouds. I just like to let myself know sometimes where I just use little markers. Any little marker you see on there that might help you. Little beam of light in there. One of these. You could even indicate, you could draw in where you want your shadows to be. But you know, you could just paint them in too. Might help though. Whatever helps you. But my recommendation is not to overdraw it. Draw it very much like we laid in our little color rock. That's basically how you want to do it. Let's see. Here. Yeah, you mean you could even draw in where you want your clouds to be too, but you don't have to. All right. Now I'm going to go to number 1. And I'm going to position my neat yucca. And God, the yucca that's in this one, it's coming way up high. It's coming way past our thing. But I think I'm going to keep mine down here so we can stage it a little bit better. Something like that. Maybe I do that a little large. Yuccas. And we have a few more over here. You can put as many of those yuccas in as you want. Just make sure they're getting smaller as they get further away. You don't have to get clinical about it. Like we do in our drawing class. Yesterday we got clinical about nature. You could certainly use any of those little ideas in this. I'm seeing some cactus in there too. If you could throw in some cactus if you like. Those can be a lot of fun. A couple of cactus shapes. I'm going over to number 4 because I like those rock shapes. No, it looks like on my others, I made my yucca a bit smaller. I'm sorry. This plumage can get just gigantic, so you can do whatever you want with that. I'll just leave it like that. I was running out of foreground places to put my rocks. I'm gonna have my sort of path area around there. We've got some areas of brush overlapping the path. Like it always does. Rocks. Rock maybe over this base of the yucca too. And got a big rock here. I like that big round rock. He's kind of all by himself, so I might take the one beside him and just overlap him a little bit. Usually tends to work better. And we have that little embankment. Some guys up above hanging out. Just remember, these rocks they're not just flat, they have sides to them, you know? They have a top plane and a side plane and a bottom plane. So that's how they receive light. And I noticed the lighting in the number 4 is totally different than the others. It's like coming from behind me, so we'll have to make up for the shadows on this. That's really not a problem. We've done the shadows on the kind of just did it in the rough. See how I took a couple of little weeds and things right up here on the side? Just to block the eye in and keep it in. I might even throw in some sage over here. Just to keep the eye in.
Rob, do you know
Yeah.
if the phase of the growth of the yucca flower, it blooms from the bottom up or from the top down? So like the ones that have the white at the top, are those past their blooming, or are they just starting?
Well, I don't know.
The
Maybe.
ones at the top, I'll add to that. The ones at the top are still fresh. The ones at the bottom are older.
So they bloom from the top down?
No, the other way around. The bottom ones are older, I think. They seem to get yellower at the bottom.
Oh,
And
okay.
the top ones stay bright whitish until the very end of the bloom. I think I remember that. I don't know. Miles, do you know?
We're getting our Eden Canyonology. Eden Canyonology. There we go. I do not know. That is fun stuff to do when you're out there painting. Learn about all these little things. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I put in some, what I'll do oftentimes, because I know that there's little extra levels of ground back there. So what I did here is I have like a level here, and I pulled a little level down there, and then I shoot another level down here. And I might do this, I did it here too. Just kind of, I already had that in there, so. I'm always doing that kind of thing. But what I'm doing is I'm just saying that, you know, this plane's up here, it comes down a little bit. This plane's over here, it comes down a little bit, down, you know. I'm just letting myself know that there's all these different little planes. I usually don't leave them in. I'll usually throw little plants and things over all these little paths. But what it adds up to in the end is many different levels. It's not flat, you know. There are many different levels in Eden Canyon. You got to go up a little hill and down. They're only maybe 5-6 feet high, but you know. And I do it all the time. Anytime I'm looking at terrain, I'm just thinking of the levels of different terrain that it could be on. So, yeah, it's that was yesterday. It's this kind of thing. We have a level here, and then we have a downhill where it might go. And then we have another level here and a downhill where that might go. You know, so it just goes up and over and up and over, and you know. So think of these little different levels of planes of things. There would be little animal trails and passageways that take us up and over these things. I think we're ready to paint. One more rock, oh, one more rock. Wait, one more. Oh boy, it never ends. Sometimes you just gotta make some choices and get on with it. The prep will never end. Okay, I'm gonna clean. I want a really nice blue up there, really fresh. I don't want too much gray in it. So my sky, I'm gonna clean myself up a nice little white area of palette. And oh, Okay. Ultramarine blue. And maybe a touch of magenta. I don't want to get it too purple, but what we got there. It's pretty light too. I'm even going to throw in a little touch of Prussian in there too. Oh, by the way, since we have such soft edge clouds up there, why don't we do it wet into wet? Yeah. So I'm just going to take a little water around this edge. Then I'm just going to take water all over. Just water. And that'll just help to just the nice soft edges, real wispy edges. Whoops, now, just remember if you're not muted, it'll go to you. Okay. Try to mute yourself. Okay, now get there. We have a little bit coming out through there. If it gets too hard edge, maybe it tacked up a little bit. Just take a little water and soften that edge like that. There's a couple little peeps of sky coming through in here, and I'm just gonna take some water around the edge so I don't get really hard edges. You know, you could also take there's some shadows in the clouds that are almost the same value as the sky. So I'm going to take some shadows into these clouds and do the same thing with very, very soft edge shadows. But on the right side, just like on the rocks, right? Just on like on everything, the right side and especially toward the top, that's where you're going to get your highlight. But on the bottom, there's a bottom plane to it. That goes into shadow. Notice I went with a different color, more gray. I got a lot of color in my gray though. Mine's kind of a reddish gray. You don't want hard edges. Now this under here, all this under here, all that. I've got a hard edge there I didn't want. So you tacked up on me a little bit. It's because I'm working at an angle. My paint is flowing downhill and it puddled up on the edge. No problem. I'm making up a green for this mountain, just like we did on our little prep painting there. And I'm gonna, yeah. I use Prussian blue, lemon yellow, and a little bit of cadmium red, very little. That helps to neutralize the color and gray it up a little bit. If you can see where the very light, there's not very many places in there, but look at where the light of the mountain hits the background, like right over here on that. I'm looking at number 3. It's pretty bright. The light on the mountain's pretty bright. Almost as bright as the sky. I'm throwing it in there light. We're gonna cast shadows over this. Which will be really fun. I love, it's like one of my favorite things to describe the terrain with cloud shadows. I'm sure you know that by now, though we've only done like 3 or 4 of them. It's just a great way to create drama, though. That's why I love it when we get clouds. See, now we do have some light things happening in here, and I think I'll just leave those. Paint this right over some shadows. But now in Eden Canyon, there's really, on this mountain here, there's some really exposed rock. And that's why it gets so bright. Granite or whatever it is just shows right through. And I don't know if that's granite. Granite's really bright. That's what we were painting when remember when we all went up to Yosemite? When we were painting Yosemite, oh, that gets really bright. I don't know if this is actually granite. I think it's limestone actually, because it's Southern California is famous for its limestone sticking out everywhere. Okay, that's pretty good. So let that dry up. You know, I think this time I'll paint this middle ground before I do this foreground. And let's just go with a nice, I want to stress the blue in this color because it's further away than this. And this is mostly in shadow. If you want to, you could certainly pop in some lights on this. You pull it around the yucca. Maybe even have a yucca way back here. We have those beautiful white sycamores too, and sometimes.
Rob, I don't think the left side of your canvas is on screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get that on there. Thanks for letting me know. There we go. Just, very basic colors. Just lay that out really basic. And if colors bleed into each other, don't worry about it. Notice I'm using 2 brushes, by the way. They make pretty good drumsticks, these guys. It's good for flicking. You can just get little flicks all over your piece. I generally keep a wet brush around when I want to keep a soft edge. So just one with just water and one with color. Now, let's move this on to the next hillside. And I think, we were going to put the green on it first. Let's do the green. I went to cadmium red and Prussian. How about what cadmium red and ultramarine do? We don't usually make our greens out of ultramarine, but you can, because it has a lot of red in it. And it also makes you a nice green, a very natural green. I don't know why I shy away from it. And obviously there are some reds up on this hill too, but I'm going to put myself a nice big old wash of green over this whole thing like that. Avoiding my yuccas. Sneaking it right down into some of this brush down below too. Take that and the whole thing. Just group that shape. See how we're keeping this simple? Boom, boom, boom. And so while it's still wet, I'm going to throw myself a couple of little brown things into it and just, because you've already got red and blue on there, right? I'm sorry, yellow and blue, excuse me, yellow and blue make green. So I'm throwing a little bit of red, just little red areas, because there are little exposed little dirt areas. And they're pretty bright too. So I just kind of float the little areas around like this. Very intuitive. So you get kind of browns and greens moving around. I mean, there's too much information up there to try to articulate every little patch. And believe me, I've tried to do it. And it never looks as good as if you just sort of loosely interpret the whole thing and just keep it basic. One thing that drives me crazy, I love these blue greens we get in our shrubbery. And I'm looking at the number 1. Even number 1. You can really see them because they're not in shadow. Get a lot of those blue greens in there too. So I think I want to just notice those first. And then if you just take your Prussian blue and add a little touch cad red to it, so it grays it a little bit. Or don't do it at all and just keep it really green, like a really green blue. That's just fine. But you can just throw in these colors all around. I see them all around. There's definitely a lot of yellow greens in there too. I just want to make sure I notice these blue greens. They really break things up. Again, not too clinical. And then I'm going to go ahead and add cad yellow right into that color. Same color I used to make that blue green, just the cad yellow. See what that does? Just a different green. And then occasionally you want to throw a little bit of red into your greens. See all the little dead areas, the little orange stuff? They call that stuff witch's broom or something like that. That parasitical plant that grows on everything. You could sure hit some oranges in there too. Come back and hit little notes of orange here and there, just really breaks things up. It's almost, the quicker you work, it's almost the better because you get all these little accidents that happen. You get all these little runs in the paint and wonderful little things that happen. Then we could take some pinks and oranges and whatever into the ground. The dirt. Keep it really light if you like. I'm not keeping mine too light. Just add water. Just anywhere there might be dirt. Little gaps and exposed areas. You can throw dirt on almost everything. And there's rocks everywhere down there, so. You can just take a little off with my brush if I like. Just a dry brush. Take all your color out, and you can lighten areas up if you like. Just basing everything in. The the rocks are pretty light. They're about the same value as excuse me, as the dirt, but you don't have to make them that way. They can get very bright. So I'm using number 4 to look at my rocks, but they are very much the same color as the dirt there. So I'm pushing my dirt to be a little darker, a little oranger. And then I want my rocks, which the rocks venture from sort of a brownish, kind of a yellowy brownish color to a bluish color almost. What I would do is just put something very light on the rocks like this. Very, very light. I just put something a little bit on the yellow side. I don't want them to be too dark in value. Otherwise, they just kind of mush in with the dirt, like they are. And really, the only thing that's separating them from the dirt is a little bit of shadow. This is what I would do. A couple more shrubs I want to throw over there. There's always more. Okay, let's just let that cook up for a little bit down here. And let's go. That was round number 1, right? We went from the sky to the background, foreground, 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 more foreground. We've got everything pretty well laid out. We don't have very little detail done, but we've got a thing masked in there, and that really didn't take too long at all. So these are what I would just call local colors, your big general color areas. So then round number 2, let's start defining things a little bit with shadows. And so I'm going to go back to my main Eaton number 3 for the shadows. And, you know, the shadows in the background are very blue. And I think I want to clean my palette again a little bit. I want to get a nice looking blue on there. A lot of paint. A lot of paint. You might even want to give yourself a couple little variations on that blue. You certainly could throw in something a little bit on the red side, etc. Any kind of variations alike. But I do like how this one, we have a lot of shadow under here. Right under that cloud, so I'm going to pull that shadow right under that cloud. Down the hillside. It hits this plane, and kind of goes up. And then down the hillside again, then it goes up. And then it goes down the hillside again. And it does that a few times. Now, I'm going to soften my edges with a little water. Just a little bit of water. Now, if I would have just put water everywhere, the paint would have just, it would have given me a nice soft edge shadow, but I wouldn't have had as much control. So what I'm doing here is I'm just coming back and softening my edges. And my shadow went exactly where I wanted it. So that's why sometimes, like in the sky, I didn't care as much, so I lay down the water first. Sometimes I lay down the color first, and then I add water to the edge. Whatever works for you. But if you want a really soft edge between the clouds and the shadow here, so I'm just going to come back with some water on the edge. See what happens there. Okay, now I have another shadow coming, kind of cresting the top of this hill right here. And then it comes down, sort of stops right here at this point. You do get something along the edge there. Cool. But see, it's really hard edge, which of course really comes forward. Remember, high areas of contrast will come forward. So let's just loosen up that edge with a little bit of water. And then it goes far away. And I can, maybe it needs a little bit of contouring in there. Okay, and then it looks like it picks up again at the top of this. And then comes down there. And I use a little bit of water along the edge just to soften it. You've got this one here, just really big. And it stops and does something else. And just use water on the edge. Soften edges. And the shadows do some wonderful little things. It kind of comes down into the canyon here, and where the canyon gets almost, the walls of it get literally straight vertical. I can just send a couple little cast shadows down there, and there. They're really hard edge, so I'm going to need to come back and soften those edges. They're very dark too. so on. Of course, there's all kinds of little guys, little ones in there. Like I see this really bright spot up there with a little kind of a triangle in it. And I might notice some of those. They get kind of hard edged too. So careful with too hard edges when you're really far away. Is basically what I'm saying there. So why don't you just say it, Rob? I don't know. I did. Okay. Yeah, you'll even find in some of those shadows, you'll have little sub shadows within the shadow. See, you have little dark spots in the shadow. So you can sort of describe the terrain within the shadow. Like, I'm noticing this one comes down this way. There could be a couple of little marks. I don't want to get too carried away with them. It sure is easy to get carried away with them. They also make it feel more like shadow when you put a little bit of something dark in a shadow. That's basically a rule, and it works on these far away shadows too. That's enough detail for now. I can come back and detail the thing out later. And it certainly could get deeper with some of these values, some of these greens, but I don't want to lose my light back there. I want to keep it light enough. I can always glaze it down. That's the thing. Always I can glaze that thing down, but once I lose if it get too dark, it's going to be tough to bring it back. I have to switch to gouache or something, and that's not always a bad thing either. But okay. Now I like the color we put on here, but the value just needs to go much darker. On the second, and it goes pretty blue-green back there. Try, if you use Prussian blue with just a touch of magenta in it, the magenta will gray it a little bit, but magenta still has blue in it, so it maintains. That won't gray it too much. Like if I were to put cad red in, it would really gray it. You can dry brush that if you like. I'll just lose that in one big tone like that. Just like we did in some of these little guys, you can throw little dark spots in there. Any color you like. I mean, even a little violet back there might look good. To vary the color. That's getting a little dark though. I'm sure it'll probably dry right, but I'm wary of that. I might dab a little bit. Are you guys getting a lot of fireworks? Everybody's lighting off fireworks around my place. It's crazy. I hear them right now.
Yes, I've been getting a lot
Isn't it nuts?
all day long, especially at
Yeah.
night. like
I
right at
know.
sunset.
We had one the other day. It had to be an M80. I've never heard. I mean, my wife has said, "What is going on?" I said, "It's got to be an M80." She goes, "What's an M80?" I said, "Don't worry about it, honey. It's like a quarter stick of dynamite, or like an eighth of a stick. You know, no big." It's like dynamite. What? Crazy. It was so loud. Okay. Now I've got our wonderful little shadows here, and I can look at my drawing and the painting, the little comp we did, and I'm noticing that there's some pretty interesting shadow patterns in there, so I'm going to use those. The first one is that right where it contours up against the background, I want to hit myself a nice, and I think I want to go a little more pure ultramarine blue, and I think I'm going to touch a very little bit of magenta in that. A lot of ultramarine blue. Right up and behind these. I'm just going to tag some right back there. Make this a focal point. Or you can also get soft edges by dry brushing. You know, we're getting more into the foreground here too, so it might be a good idea to dry brush some of those shadows in there to get these edges. It feels a little bit more like brush. I just go with what things feel like. You know, way back on this mountain back there, you just can't see any brush. It's too far away. But up here on this hill, you're starting to see some. And here's a little trick. Tag some darks along this contour. And it really starts to separate from that. Try not to make a line. You can make a line, but if you're going for realism, just little tags of shadow. They add up to something like a line. Something like this. What it does is it really separates this plane from that plane. Just a little trick. Like all we're doing is we're just capitalizing on the separation between this plane and that plane. I'll oftentimes hit a little dark, like I did right there, right here. I'll tag a little something dark right there. Not too dark, I just want a separation between these two values, something like that. Dry brushing that down the side. It's great. Really gives you the feeling that the light's shooting down that hillside. I think that's good enough. And now remember, the light is coming from here, from the right-hand side. So your shadows are going to be going left. And so what you can do is, just take a little rock right here. We've got a rock and it has a side to it. Okay? So does this rock, it has a little side to it. So it has a top plane, a side plane here, and this backside plane over here, which is all in shadow. And then I just cast a little shadow on the ground like that. And I took my time and really worked that one out. The reason why is because I can use that as a model for my others. just really working out the fact that I have a top plane, this back plane here. And there is a foreground. This side plane might, in this case, it probably be almost the same value as the top. What we can do is maybe later glaze something a touch darker on the side. But again, I would do it here. Do a little bit of shadow on the side there, a little bit on the shadow on the side there. Sometimes you get little weeds and stuff casting little shadows. And I just go around, and I'm using blue and a touch of magenta. Even little guys like this, I'll give them little niggies in there. And already it gives you a sense of the light. I forgot to cast some shadows back here, just something. Oh yeah, there'd be brush, so I think your shadows would be more like this. Yeah. I wouldn't believe, I mean, it doesn't take very much. And the grass actually acts the same way, but you might be better served to use sort of a dry brush technique. Like again, I'll start off right here. Let's say I've got like my local color of grass. Okay, then I'm gonna throw in like with some dry brushing in there. A little shadow side to that. Maybe a little shadow side over here. Just dry brushing those in there. I'm not throwing the cast shadow on the ground because I want the cast shadow on the ground to be a little bit more like these colors. I like that way that violet looks like on the ground. No problem. But anyway, the shrubbery acts very much in the same way. It just has a more brushy edge. Giving, again, a good illustration of how edges are so important, right? The edge of the rock is hard because the rock is hard. The edge of the sage brush is brushy because it's a brushy thing. And I know it sounds really goofy, but it's true. Now, if you notice over on this side, you don't see as much of the shadows as you do on this side because you're looking that way at these shadows and you're looking that way over here. So you're probably catching a little bit more on the light over here. You will have some shadows. Oftentimes, if you're just looking at a photograph, you can see it in the photograph. You look at the photograph, you get a lot more shadow on the right side and a lot less shadow on the left side. But if you're making it up, you might get lost. And refer back to your photographs. Little bits of shadow over here. Sometimes I'll use a shadow like, watch this. I'll put right on the top of this rock. I'll hit myself some shadow. Not because there was necessarily shadow there, because I really want to show off that rock. That's staging. Creating focal points, right? We got a focal point pretty much on the third over here. As far as the rule of third goes, we got something over here. You know, we don't really have anything like dead center. Just to show you, I like to throw these shadows, these brushy shadows down on the ground, kind of brushy, right up and over the rock there too. Kind of brushy. Shadows will be brushy too, because it's brush. Everything has got shadows. all this sagebrush back here. And almost just make it up. All kinds of things happening back there. You can really knock yourself out on the little spears below the yucca. I just think of them as spokes on a wheel. That's all they are, just spokes on a wheel. They just, whatever you take down here, take right back up there. Straight down here, straight up there. Of course, there'd be a little shadow on the front. Maybe a little bit more purple than that. And that would have all that casting a shadow too. So I'm just going to throw that way down there. I think that's casting a shadow. And so these yuccas are very light. They're pretty much white. So just about the same value range as the clouds are. So, but they're a little bit on the yellow side. What you could do is just glaze with ever so little bit of yellow. Kind of a creamy color, so very little, hardly change the value at all. But because the light's coming from the side, you will get a shadow side to them. And I'm just going to break in my shadows very lightly here. About it. And anyway, the stem that their trunk or whatever it is, it's pretty green. So I love it when they're dead too. They get all red. They're really fun. I mean, these things are good to paint at every stage of life. I've got some orangey red ones that I just love that thing. And someone bought it and I was so happy because I was afraid people wouldn't buy it because it's dead. But all right, let's see. Yeah, so we could paint the stem of it in the green. I always add a little bit of red to my greens just to naturalize it, or orange. Orange, and just make a green and add some orange to it. You'll see what I mean. It makes a very natural looking. It's a pretty dark one too. I'm gonna let it just kind of creep in once in a while. Like that. And just like when I do my branches, you can just use like a wet edge. And sort of just kind of loses and finds itself here and there. Maybe it creeps out the top here a little bit. And I don't know at this scale you would even see any little, they have little stems that stick out the side. They're fun. Knock yourself out with those. They're a blast. One of the reasons I paint down in Eden Canyon there is it's got everything that California has to offer. Just about every single thing. We don't have Joshua trees though. So that's a bummer, but that would be a lot of fun to paint those two, wouldn't it? Wow. Maybe I'll do Joshua trees next week. I'll write that down. I have had a lot of hard, tough lessons painting Joshua trees. They aren't as easy. They're very deceiving. But just like everything else, when you break it down, you can learn it. It's just, wow. I thought I would just, first time I painted a Joshua tree, it really fell on my booty. It did not. I went home licking my wounds after that one. Because there's such a strange shape.
Yeah, what was your downfall?
Oh, getting too lost in all of the, what do you call it? The spikes, the little speary things. Not grasping the whole, you know, just getting lost in all the detail. As usual. But they're just such a weird shape. You really got to, unless you know how to paint them, you know, you've painted them a lot. You really got to sit there and really, really observe the shape because they do weird things. Unorganic things, like they will get a little bit fatter at the end sometimes. Usually a tree or something will get thinner at the end. All kinds of weird things. Okay, now I did articulate a little bit on the edges there, if you notice. And you certainly could play with some of those edges, but I wouldn't get too carried away with them. You'll fall into the Joshua tree syndrome. Okay, now let's pop in some darks. You know, must be getting toward the end of the painting, and usually our darks are down here at the base of things, like down there, and here, there. If it gets too much, I just kind of use my finger and rub it in there or something. But really, they're usually at the base. Just look at your photograph, you'll see almost always at the base, you'll have a nice dark. Now, instead of using black too, I would probably use something like violet. It's usually a better idea. Black is just such a boring color. Some of these, some of those. Get yourself some darks. I'm hitting mine a little bit too dark, so I may have to come back and wipe it with my rag. And you know, do that at a time. Almost every rock you'll see something dark underneath, even these little guys, because they're they block all the light. And those really start giving it some pop. So I'm going to use ultramarine blue here now. Because you can certainly finish up some of those darks later. And probably I might lose some of my darks when I do this, but I want to close this corner in like this. So I'm just going to take some ultramarine blue right over that. And I could just leave it like that. That actually doesn't look too bad. But I'm just faking a cloud shadow. See, I'm just using a little bit of water on the edge there. One stroke, don't get into rubbing to this too much because you'll take it up. Like I said, I'll probably lose some of my shadows in there, but those darks I just put in. See what that does? The closing the corner off really gives it some, you know, here's a little trick too. But you can, you take a dry brush to the tops of some of these little guys here. Don't get them too bright, because you still want it to feel like a shadow. Just the tops, because they would catch some skylight in them. because that plane will catch the sky, the value of the sky in there. I'm just going over some of my little nibbies here. And, you know, the coolest thing, you can take these shadows, these cloud shadows could be anywhere. They could be doing anything. So they could be coming down the hill here and then across some of the land possibly. I mean, I could take, like, watch this. I'll just take this right over the land there. And up. Who knows what it does? And then come back and just soften the edges with water. We just got a little cast shadow from a cloud. You know, the cloud's so far away, you won't have real hard edges. So you want to soften those edges. You get, you know, little strips of light here and little strips of shadow. Really fun. You get the rocks going from light, you know, from shadow to light to shadow again to light again. So almost foreign to our California eyes because we don't get the weather, you know, like Mammoth and stuff up in the mountains. Colorado, Utah, they get that kind of weather where, you know, they say, if you don't like the weather, just wait 15 minutes. And great time for accents. Now we have such a blue-green painting. You know, in number 4, you get some little yellow accents in there. Certainly all kinds of wildflowers. You could pop in little. You get the orange things happening from that. I actually love that parasite. It's called witch's broom or something like that. I don't know. It kind of, but it's orange, grows around all over, especially in the summertime. You get all that orange. Great idea to come back and accent. Think of this as like putting a little bit of spice. You know, see what that did? Just a little red in there, a little orange, I'm sorry. Here and there. It just grows on everything, but I mean, I don't really need it to actually be anything. I'm just looking for how to accent the piece. Something in there. Little oranges here and there. I mean, I only put like 3 of them in the foreground. That works. Now I'm gonna go grab me some lemon yellow because it's pretty opaque, and just give myself some little wildflowers, especially in the dark areas. Smack a couple like in here. Ooh, that was big. You got that real goopy on there. Little accents. You can put them in the shadow too, but I would add a little blue to them so they fit like they're in shadow. Or really thin them out, one or the other. If I really thin this out, yeah. Do that. That works. You know, way back here, you don't get too much. I like the values. These little lights could be rocks or something, but I wouldn't hit a really serious saturated color far back. Save those for up here. That gives you more distance. It just feels like stuff in there, you know? I took a little bit of yellow on my path up here. The only reason I did that is just to make the orange of the path look a little closer to the eye than that, etc. And as things go far away, so I'm just, you know, spicing the painting up a little bit. You could add the slightest touch of a yellowy orange, and then very little, to your rocks, like this main rock here. It's a lot. Yeah, maybe something different. Ooh, that guy really yellow. Just to feel like sunlight, maybe orange. I mean, you don't want to affect the value too much. But just to give a little color to your whites. And you certainly could break out your white here and just hit some, you know, white accents. But this actually, this lemon yellow can be very, very opaque. But if it's not enough, just add a little white to it. I'm losing my voice, sorry. Pick and choose your little areas. You might overdo an area, just don't worry about it. Just, I'm not gonna say throw the whole thing away and start over, that would be crazy. No, just wipe it out. Wipe out an area and, or throw some regular dull green back over it and start over. Constantly doing that. Again, in your shadows too, smack those darks. You might have lost your dark underneath things because the watercolor will come back, you know, when you glaze it over, it will pick things up. You will get really dark darks in the shadows, so go ahead and give them a little bit of a pop in there. Make them stand out. I love the differences between the shadow and the light. So fun. And from here on out, it's just characteristics. I love to throw, I mean, I'm not seeing it in it. I'll bet you if I looked hard enough, I'd see it. Like a dark branch over something light. Not, you know, not, doesn't have to be everywhere. It doesn't have to be all that big of a deal, but watch what just a little like stick does, see? Might have a little sagebrush on it or something. A touch of overlapping there. So you got the dark over the light. Then over here you have the light over the dark. You got all these little dualities going on. It makes for, it just, you know what, it just creates interest. You know? It's all about variation and interest. You look at these little sticks here and there. You can almost do anything with them. I usually use them to create a little bit of like, here I created a little bit more depth. So I'm getting the overlapping. Give me the depth. You can come back and reinforce things. I like that, like this edge here. I think I want to reinforce that edge a little bit. Just, that's a little dark, so I'm gonna lighten that up a little bit. There's all these little subtle shadows on the hill. Some of these lights on the mountain back here are so bright. I think I want to take a little bit more of my color. You know, it's watercolor, so it'll dry lighter. Always does. And so you notice the brightest parts are over on this side, and then as that form turns around into like a middle tone, you'll get more of a middle value around here. And I'm seeing a lot of brown. Sometimes I just pull it right over to my foreground value and then just go like that. Look at that brown in there. Leaving it brighter over here. So see, they have form to them, they're not flat. The brighter part will be the part facing the light. And it never ends. You just have to decide. You know, you choose your battles, and I mean, I don't like to make it seem like it's all a big battle, but you know what I mean. You win some and you lose some, and a lot of them aren't win or loss. They're just sort of there. Those are actually my least favorite. Ones I paint that are pretty good. People even buy them. And I used to not ever let those go. But now it's so funny because I've looked at paintings where I thought this didn't work at all. Then I come back later and I go, you know what? What was I thinking? This looked pretty good. And people were telling me it looked good and I didn't believe it. I don't know.
I think that's because sometimes your vision doesn't match what you did, but other people can see the value in it.
Yeah. Yeah, so There's all kinds of little things you can do, you guys. I'm seeing some little oaks and things that go, they kind of shoot down the hillside and then they'll kind of come back up. You'll describe the form and then they shoot back down the other side. Little oaks and shrubs, and I think they're actually just shrubs. It's just kind of go up one side and down the other. Maybe up one side and down the other. You do it in the shadows too, they get a little darker. Anyway, how about I see you guys back here at, we do it at 12:15, right? Is it 12:30? 12:15, I'm sorry, I get all these dates mixed up.
12:15.
Let's meet back here at 12:15 for the crit. Okay. I can never put this thing down. A lot of fun.
Are you gonna leave your picture up, Rob?
Yeah, it's up there, right? Yeah. I didn't take it down, yeah. Yeah, I'll just leave it there.
I just see a gray screen.
You're not seeing my piece?
You have to scroll through the pictures.
There's two, yeah, there's two Rob Sherrills.
Oh, thank you. I see it now.
Thank you, Rob.
Mhm.
Take a picture of this. And this. I have to take my phone to take the pictures. Sorry about the shaking. You can see some problems from this small picture. I think this area could be dark. Maybe too much white. I tend to have more white. Okay. I will see what Robert says and then do some more. Oh, I can see it's not in the orientation I like. Let's see if I can take a picture. Take a picture. This camera. Okay. Okay, still drawing oriented. Okay, now I'll put you back. And I'll finish the Chinese painting I did just prior to the class. Let's see what- Okay, this is my watercolor. This is the study I did. The shrimp. Oh, actually, it's not mobile paper. It's the hand paper. Just tonal study. Let me just color it for fun. I just wash my palette here. So when we do Chinese painting, the ink is the host, so to speak. And the color always secondary or complementary to the ink, not to the extent to overwhelm the ink. So just like doing the ink and then want to wash. You can do ink wash. I already did wet into wet. And it was yeah, you can do shading and ink wash at the same time. Then you do this kind of thing. And the best part of the Chinese painting is to paint on the back side of the paper. So let me just make it an opaque green color, just show you how that works. Let's see. This is not a traditional way, but I will show you the authentic Chinese landscape painting next week on Thursdays. Starting on Thursday, we have 10 weeks for the whole summer to explore the Chinese landscape painting together. So I would start from the early period in the northern Song Dynasty, and then southern Song, and then Yuan Dynasty, probably a little bit in the Ming Dynasty. Yeah, if you apply very thin opaque color or transparent color, you can do it on the front, no problem. You don't have to do it on the back. Just like that. You can see it covers the ink. You can make it the ink a little lighter. Just like that. You can cover the ink. Okay, now I'm going to paint this distant mountain with a very thin color. Let's see where we are. Let me pin myself so we start. Okay. We just make a purplish color and we do We don't really paint the shadows in Chinese brush. If you like, you can do that as well. You know, we just do the silhouette, not the shadow. That's shadows. Again, I will do the black. Just make it softer. You can make some umber color. I just fake it. Let me clean up my palette. Always. You can still have some white. Okay. And then you can put some amber on the bottom of the hue. If you don't want the ink color to bleed into the white, all you need to do is to wet the area. You don't want the color to come in because the color tends to get into where it's drier. That's why I just wet that in front of the ink colors. You will drive it back. You will fan it off. Oops. Okay. We don't usually paint the sky traditionally, but why not? Give it a try. So just you can wet the painting and paint wet into wet. Well, you can paint it with lighter color first and then wet into wet with darker color. Usually dark break the light. It's easier. Just fill in all the ink so there's no water stain. Or just leave the stain along the contour of the mount, will be fine. So just like that. Give some color. And you can accumulate many layers. Like after it dries, you can go back to add more ink or more color. Eventually, you need to mount the painting to show the vibrance and make it a paper flat. Same idea as in watercolor. Let's see. You can use opaque. You can save the white paper for white. That's preferable. Also in Chinese landscape painting. Just add some more warm color. All right. So 10 minutes from the critique. Let's see what I can do. You can mount it, make it perfect. Let me see if I have silicone here. Maybe that's fine. Okay, let me just try it. We'll turn the voice off so you don't hear the noise. Okay. We put a seal in the corner here. I just sign with my English name on watercolor painting, and rice paper, Chinese brush painting, I use traditional way. Just sign with seal. Okay. I think we have 5 minutes. What we can do here. Again, I like to announce the new class I'm going to teach next Thursday. If you like to sign up, I have a page. I'll put in the video description so you can sign up to Blue Heron Arts. For 10 weeks, it's $200 it's all recorded, so if you can make any class, you can make up by watching the replay. And we will cover at least 10 to 20. If we cover each class, 2 masters, it will be 20 of them. So based on the classical teaching manual, master to seat.
Hi, everybody. So how about we start getting those things in here? I know some of you already did. There we go. We got Lynn.
Did you get George?
Oh yeah, Lynn, Ethel, George, Robin, so far.
Rob, Rob,
You didn't get mine, Ralph?
I got Vendi.
Yeah, okay, good.
yeah, check my image if it's oriented correctly.
Let's see, I don't have Henry yet.
Really? Let me see.
I'm coming. I just took the picture. I just have.
I sent you right. You stopped painting, so maybe in the check it again. Let me forward it to you.
Okay.
I'm just trying to rotate it, Rob, and I'm sending it.
Okay.
Let me send again. Maybe. Oops. I may be slow. I think it's kind of okay. Let me see.
There's Henry.
Okay, good.
Let's see. they both came out sideways.
Oh, sorry. That's how I tried. Okay, so can you fix that, or should I take it again?
Oh wait, I see your other one. Here's another one. Okay, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Cool. All right, I have yours, Joe. Joe, do you like me to call you Joe or Joanne? I know we went over that before.
Let me do the camera. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay, well, I can just start and then you guys can send them as we go.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of you do that anyway. Okay. Let's start with Vendy. Vendy got the first one in here. Hey, nice. Wow. Hey, now right away, are you doing those whites in there with, how are you doing those? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Let me get you in up there.
Don't forget to record.
Did I? Hold on. No, did I forget to record this morning? No, I didn't. Did I? I didn't forget to record that, did I?
We don't know because of the second time you came in. So we're not sure when we couldn't
Was I
hear you.
recording and then when I came back in, I forgot to push record, I think, didn't I?
That's possible.
Yeah.
Can anybody else vouch? I don't.
I don't know.
I'm just recording locally, so I think let me just
Oh,
stop, make a stop, and then
No.
I start over again.
Okay, let's put, where is there, share screen.
Okay, should I press record for you
I did
now?
that whole demo,
I'm going to
darn it.
hold on. Let me record for you.
I
Okay.
can't believe it. You guys, I think you told me the first time and then, so I thought I had it on.
Okay, now we are on.
You know, all these little technical things I have to do just makes you forget to record. I mean,
You
Okay.
need an engineer on site.
I am recording now, right? You guys
Yeah.
got that? It says recording?
Yeah, yes.
Just remember in the future, just you don't see that recording thing up there, scream at me. Okay. I think the crit's more important anyway, actually. I'll give you a photo. I'll make sure you have a picture of this. So you're doing the white here with a brush, or how are you doing that?
No, it's with a pen. It's a Uniball pen.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
I'm using this in another class with Julie Crouch.
Yeah.
She recommended it and I love it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you could do the same thing with a white and your brush, but
Oh, yeah.
this gives you I mean, it has to be dry underneath. Well, I guess it'll just leak out if it's not dry underneath, but yeah. Okay, very nice.
Thank you.
Now, red accents in there. Now, oftentimes when I have like a white tree or a white stem coming out, what I'll do, by the way, is that water soluble, that pen?
I'm not certain. I don't know.
Because anyway, if I have, like, let's say if I have white on the end of my brush,
Right.
I'll just kind of fade it into the brush. Yeah, I'll
Gotcha.
fade it in with water. This gives you a really hard, stark line, but it doesn't give you any sort of fade unless you kind of smear it with your finger or something.
You're right.
So I would think about that as you go down into, let's say, where the bottom meets. Like here, where the bottom meets. I might smear that or fade that. I usually just do it with water when I do it on my own.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, otherwise it gets really stark and hard edged like that. All right, nice shadows. And this is good right here, what you did right here. You see my little arrow here?
Mm-hmm.
You pulled the white stuff over the dark stuff. That was a good
Right.
move. It gives you a feeling of overlapping.
Right.
Now the other thing I might do is take some dark stuff like this, or like what's in the background there. Just some little dark little things like over there. Just like you did with these lights. And so
Right.
you'll get the one, you'll get the foreground and then the shadow, and then the shadow casting in a little bit over that. You get these little silhouettes over that. So
Got
that's
it.
just another thing. This right here is the same idea, really good, really good.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's all it is. You just keep overlapping. I noticed a lot of your rocks are right beside each other and they're almost overlapping, and they don't look bad at all because you do have weeds in between them overlapping. But occasionally you might want to do is just throw another rock, in the foreground or something, maybe a couple or a few of them.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's usually what happens. And sometimes things they don't look. I mean, I'll take a photo of them and they're not overlapping very much, and I'll just make them overlap because usually it just looks better. So yeah, think of just a few. You don't need very many, just a couple here and there.
Right. Right.
A couple here and there. All right, looks pretty good.
Nice painting, Benji.
Yeah.
Thanks, George. Thanks.
Did this area get a little dark on you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, on something like that, because it's almost right in the center too, I might just take a little water on it and then just lift it up
Okay.
so it kind of blends into here.
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to go on that. All right, thank you. Nice clouds too. Very atmospheric. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very atmospheric. Yeah. Okay.
Very nice, Benji.
Thank you.
Very nice. And Ethel. Cool. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, that really, wow. Now,
That was hard.
yeah. Yeah, this right here is, you can get away with it being that dark, but what I would do is maybe darken this area a little bit more, all this. Because it's almost, you got a lot of the same values here as you got like back in here. And so I think I would just to make it feel like it's more shadow, get something bluish, blue greenish, whatever. Just take a glaze all the way over. I would take it all the way down here. But you don't want to go this dark, right? Just lighter, maybe somewhere in this area, or maybe even a touch lighter. Just so it separates, so you really get the separation between this foreground element and this one in the background. That's all. Then you see how this is really straight right here? This one's got a lot of little switchbacks in it. I think I do this a little bit more. All you have to do is just take a few of these weeds right out into here a little bit. Maybe here and there, maybe just a little bit. So you get the, yeah. You could even throw a couple right in the middle of the road, or a couple of rocks too. just to give it a little bit. You know, one of my favorite things to do is sometimes you'll get ruts in the road. And that's usually where wagons have been or something, but not always. I mean, you might get little, you know, you can get them for all kinds of reasons. So those are kind of fun too, and they do bring it back into perspective. I didn't put those in there, but those are some things as well. I might go a little bit darker with your cast shadows here on the ground. Just glaze them a little bit darker. These darks at the base here really work. These really look good. And so does this right here, this little staging element. Those can be really effective. Also here, this is really effective on that.
That was kind of to balance the dark under the yucca.
Oh yeah, right.
Because it was like
Yeah.
one big dark spot, and I went, oh, I need one over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to, you know, you could throw in some little spots, little pops of color here and there if you like. It's up to you. It works. I love areas like this where most people wouldn't even give it a second thought, but you know, you just made a whole area, a big giant area of the painting. You gave it, it looks lively enough, it has enough information, it's not overpowering anything, and it's doing its job with very minimal effort there. But that's, you know, I know you might want me to, you know, talk about the yucca or something, but really, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, little areas like that can really make a painting. And you can also muff an area like that by overcomplicating it. Okay.
I just took in some glazes because I wanted it to look like it belonged to the rest of the people.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Very
It looks very good at.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, on this, and now I would take a little background in here and just kind of, you know, sort of contour things a little bit here and there, you know.
Yeah.
However it does this little thing. I didn't really finish mine either, but yeah, certainly could take a little background into it here and there and
Yeah.
give it a little form. I think that would work. What else? That's about it. I would do it all you can to soften that edge. It might be stubborn, I don't know, but I like soften that edge. Your clouds are wonderful. They're really, really cool. And so you might get this misty kind of edge right there. So
Okay. Yeah, I'll play with that.
easy enough. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And George.
Ooh,
Very colorful,
I love the clouds.
very whimsical. Yeah, you could feel the rhythm, you know. So now, oh, look at I like your little cool. Is that what that is? Cool?
No, that's cloud. I didn't write out. I just put CL. I'm learning.
You put sky in here.
I put blue.
All right. Now, you know, I would ask you to fuzz these edges too, but you didn't fuzz them anywhere. So you're pretty much sticking to something pretty hard edge. So on that note, I wouldn't have you go soft edge on any of them. If that's what you're trying to maintain, is this hard edge kind of thing, stylistic. Because obviously this has gone off into the stylistic land, right?
Yeah.
And so now if you're doing style, then I'm thinking, you know, hard edges everywhere. Now you have this beautiful red Plein here in the foreground. It has fuzzy edges. I don't mind that because I know that obviously this you're trying to really push whatever you're seeing. Oh yeah, by the way, I like your cactus here. Nice. I forgot to throw some cactus. Nice looking cactus.
And that really is all by luck. At the end, I thought, well, I have the red and the blue. I'm gonna need to put some yellow in. So I just put dabs of lemon yellow in. That's the way it dried. I put it out in the sun.
Oh, how about that?
So
I
it's,
know watercolor will do that.
yeah,
Little happiness there. You know, one thing you can do is maybe if you want to bring some out, you can come in between them. Not everywhere, but just little bits here and there, and pop little darks behind them if you want. Or if you want to just keep them into script, just leave them like they are. I could see you nailing a couple little darks at the base of things, like here and maybe back in there.
yeah. I did it with a pen.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that black line. It's a Faber-Castell.
Yeah, those are really good. So I could also see with some of your rocks here, maybe some weedish things going up in front of them, possibly.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be everywhere.
I just felt so good that I got them to look like rocks.
They look good. Yeah. This one right here looks really good. I like you can really feel like your strokes are taking us around the form and across the form.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mapping it out, but you really do
Yeah.
feel like you're understanding that the mapping of the form. So that's fun. A little overlapping, so
And I finally understood that's supposedly a path, that brown line.
Yeah.
And I finally understood that the path is going to stop at the horizon line because I had it looking like it was going up a hill.
well now if it does, well now the path could,
yeah, that's a path. But anyway, initially I had taken it up the side of the mountain.
or it could go up the side of the mountain. It's
Well,
possible.
yeah, right. It is possible, but
It could go up the side of the mountain like this, sure. You know, but you're right. I mean, what if you wanted it to be on this land, then it's really not going to go past, this horizon much.
right.
Not at all.
And,
If it's on this plane, right? But remember I said before, sometimes I'll push another plane like this. I'll come over and I'll have it come up another plane.
right.
That now it's not on the same plane. It's doing something totally different.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if this were all flat, then that works. That would only go to the horizon line. But the second you change the terrain, now you're talking about a different view of perspective.
Right. And the same thing with the lake edges. Yesterday we were talking about it's a scrunched up sea or ellipses for a lake line flat, but also the edges of the lake will be at the horizon line and not above it.
Right, now you gotta understand that the lake is flat.
Yeah,
So that's why you don't have the change in terrain very much. So that will definitely hold true that your edges where the land meets the water will be very flat,
right.
very flat, almost totally flat at the horizon. And then as you get toward us, they'll get more and more and more. But,
I don't know why it's taken me so long to realize that, but anyway. So today was a good
all in
day.
all. The thing to note is that you're looking more down on things here in the foreground. And then you're looking a little bit more across things over here, and more across, and they get more elliptical, and they get more elliptical, and suddenly you're flat.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, as things go away from you, they just get flatter and flatter for lots of reasons, but mostly the reason is because it's getting toward the horizon. All right, nice color. I really like your color. I think this shadow could have been darker,
Okay,
just a little bit darker. And this value right here, see this value really feels like a very light shadow, but it does feel like a shadow. I think because it has yellow in it. Maybe glaze a little bit of yellow into this shadow first.
Oh,
And
okay.
see what it comes out like. Then
Okay.
see if we need to go darker.
And just keep it connect, that same glaze that I'll put over that connected to the rest of the shadow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think these shadows back here would be a little bit dark. A little bit dark. Because they're almost the same value as your lights. You want them to be a little bit darker.
Really
Oh.
nice, George.
Thank
I
you,
love
Andy.
these colors.
Yeah.
Love them.
Nice job, George.
Thank you, Hector.
All right. Good work. Okay. Good work.
Thank you.
Good. Robin.
Ooh.
Hey. Wow.
Oh, that's.
Well, you really got into these the yucca spearage. I don't know what they're called.
I kept thinking fur ball.
You know what you did right in them too, and I didn't even bother to mention this, but some of these actually come right at us. You know, some of them most of them go straight up. And they're really long, but some occasionally you'll get one or two coming at you. So when I'm out painting them, I'll take a light one, like a let's see if this light green works, and I'll take a 1 or 2 or 3 just coming right at us. That and gives you more of a little more dimensional feeling. Nicely done. Wow. So it looks like you just laid them in pretty loose and then came back with some solid little shadow strokes on there.
Mhm.
That's a good way to handle them.
I did everything I could think of. Gouache, layers.
Well, it works. It's nicely done. This shadow right here, it feels like the light's like right up above. And it's a little small. I don't mind that. I mean, you're pretty consistent on your light source on all of them, so that's fine. Let's see.
I think there were issues with the overlapping. If the spikes of the plant had overlapped, like if I had used some gouache to overlap the purple shadow, that would have worked better.
Yeah. Okay, so see how we have this round object here. So, right. You guys see how the shadow on the ground should be more elliptical, yeah. Because it's sitting on the ground plane. So might be, that's what I'm thinking.
I
A
see.
little more, yeah, a little more like, a little longer, that's all I was thinking.
Mhm.
Get it nice and dark underneath.
That would make the
Remember-
that would make the path more interesting as well.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I'm talking about, a perspective in nature. So we have basically a round object. It's not perfectly round, but it does fit into basically a circle. You look at them. And it will produce an elliptical shadow, and the spokes will lay down in perspective like this, in sort of loosely following mathematical perspective. So that's one case where your knowledge of perspective will really shine through. And for those of you taking the drawing class, that really helps. So even like something like this, okay, we have a round object. No, I can actually just do like this. Take, we have a green object here. And let's say on the ground we have I don't have the right colors, but let's say a violet shadow. I think in terms of, oh, I can move that. Oh, yeah, look at that. I think in terms of ellipses and circles and things, even though they're not perfect and they go around terrain like this. That's the way I think of them. Weird, isn't it?
Well, it just shows me again and again that you have to, you're making art. You're not trying to make a photograph of the scene.
Yeah.
So you have to always keep in mind that if the shadow that you're seeing in the scene doesn't tell you the story of the object, then you need to rework the shadow. And I was being super literal photo.
Yeah, so then, right, so the knowledge of perspective and all of these rules and light and such, you can actually make stuff up that makes you a better picture, actually, that isn't even there in the photograph, oftentimes. And that's where, of course, knowledge, I mean, observation is really important. And so is all of the, you know, rules of art, composition, perspective, etc. So, anyway, I just want to let you know that I have those things in mind when I'm thinking of all of these, putting all this stuff together. I really do think in terms of balls and ellipses and boxes and things like that. You know, I might actually look at, let's say this big area here as kind of that kind of shape, and then I might actually think of the shadow. I don't know if I can actually get this right, but kind of like that. You know, wrapping around the form a little bit. And also that this form has a bottom to it too. Oops. I really want to do that. So it's weird how it works. Oh, that's weird. So everything has sides to it. Everything's nothing's really flat. Everything has sides to it and bottom and so that's mainly what I'm talking about. I like how you took this dark background right here, and because you have this darker background, it really gives life to this in the foreground.
Mm-hmm.
Like your kind of dead yucca over here, they definitely do that. And I could see, you know, a few rocks here and there, you know, occasionally just overlapping each other. That's a cool way to do things.
But stylistically, I think the whole thing works. It's great.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
I love your complimentary thing you're doing here. Orange and blue.
I thought the orange was a little bit distracting, so I ran some more ultramarine over the orange, and it toned it down, and it looks a lot better.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's a little fighting that the other hues.
So if you let a little bit of that orange come through, but maybe glaze in a little bit of something greenish, something.
Well, that's
It might. Now you can still see how that orange it vibrates. So if it's jumping too much, then you'll want to glaze it down very, very lightly with blue. And that'll gray it, just like you did here. You can see you did it right there. But anyway, yeah, I'll just like you did here with the red, the violet, it's like a little yellow or something. You want to vibrate color through your color field. You put down the orange color field, and I give myself variations within. That's what it'll do if you put blue over it because it'll gray. So maybe you didn't want to kill all that. Maybe just a touch of green.
Green's a good idea.
Okay. And then usually what I'll do on things like this is small, but I'll let you know. When I come into a stem like this, what I'll do is I'll come back and erase. Or just what I do is add a little bit of water into areas, and it feels like it's coming in and out of the foliage. In and out, in and out. Same here. I might do it here. Just do whatever you can do to make this feel like it's coming in and out of the foliage. Because some of these little flowerets or whatever they're called will go in front of your the trunk there. And, so you'll have ins and outs. Okay. All right, very nice.
Thank you.
Lots of good ideas. Wow.
Yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful.
love the design. You always do. You know, you're a really great designer. So
That's Art Center for you.
yeah, design really, and it's the #1 thing in the piece. You know, if you don't have a good design in your piece, it really doesn't matter how well you paint it. For some reason, the design just will leave you flat. I don't know why.
Robin, what is your background? Yep.
I have a BA in art history and fine arts.
Oh no, I meant your virtual background.
Oh my! I don't know. I was really surprised when it came up. Let me look.
What's your background?
That's what I thought you were asking. Oh,
Oh, it all started in Memphis, Tennessee in 1967.
Huntington Desert Garden.
The Arboretum.
No, Huntington.
Huntington. Oh, okay.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Very fun. Okay, Henry.
Hi.
Hey. Look at his control of the wet into wet, you guys. And then on right in tune with that. Look at all the dry brushing. Dry brushing everywhere. Look at that. Everywhere. Dry brushing, wet into wet.
Very sparkly.
And then you can see like right here where he has the orange path and he glazed over the sort of blue violet over the top. Really filling the shadowish right there. Yeah, I like how you shadows. I'll do this really crazy here. Oh, let me do it with an arrow. I love these arrows. Okay, don't get me started. So we go down the terrain, we go up, right?
Yeah.
Let me get a smaller arrow here. We go down the terrain again.
Okay.
You know?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The steps.
You know, I mean, you feel it. You can see how your shadows are really kind of in a very intuitive way, really describing the form. That's what we're into. You know, I mean, that's what will get you more dimension in your work when you just keep thinking of how the terrain goes. And so that's why sometimes I'll draw myself little lines over the terrain, and then I'll try to get my shadows to fit that. And in watercolors, you know, obviously there's a lot of room for.
I love those arrows.
Yeah, look at all those arrows, huh? I don't think I ever used that many arrows.
I actually, incidentally, I just added 2 power towers on the right side mountain. If you look at my video here, right here, you see that. Is that a good idea? It's in the photo, so I added that to the. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Just
Very cool.
just here, right here, very small.
Towers up there. Okay.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Okay. And I'll use my arrows again here. You can feel we shoot down the form, and down the form.
We call that structural tendency in
Yeah.
Chinese painting. Yeah.
You really feel the terrain in this. Let's see, nice looking rocks. Look how loose he keeps those, you guys. And let's get in here and take a look. Let's have a look see. You see, you don't have to be so crazy hard edged on everything.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look how abstract that looks, isn't it? I mean, if we were to take this and just put it in a box, you know, it's almost a painting all on its own.
Hey, Rob, go to the far right-hand corner,
Far right hand.
lower
the-
right-hand
the
corner.
cactus.
There's a cacti in the
Cactus.
lower right-hand corner. Because the colors are gorgeous.
Yeah,
Ooh,
nice signature.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got your cactus over here. You see how loose he is about it?
It's a little bit negative painting.
Very masterful. Nice edges, but not, you know, really no razor sharp edges to speak of. Just, in fact, that dry brush really gives you a kind of that broken quality that feels impressionistic.
Oh, I just watched the Cézanne's rock show in Princeton University yesterday. It was great. It's featured only his rocks. Paul Cézanne's. Yeah, you can search online. It's a wonderful show.
I like how you took this green back here. Back here to kind of staging your what yucca plant there. That's a good move. I might put a little shadow on your yucca.
Okay, on the right side, left side. Okay. What that color would be? Just the local color or blue? Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Any color you like. I'm just
Okay.
using this as an
Okay.
idea for shadow.
Yeah, maybe just darker.
Yeah, and just a little bit, just a touch, you know, just a touch, just to give it a little bit of
Roundness.
very simple, just 10, not even 10 seconds.
Yeah, the top was not defined. I'm sure it's kind of lost.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I got it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Good. I could see possibly maybe this area in the background here, this background hill, being
Darker.
a little bit darker.
Okay.
Let's see, I hate to use black, but it's all I got here.
Just ultramarine and a little
Yeah, ultramarine.
green kind of. Maybe red, a little bit magenta.
And that's only if you want that to feel like it's all in shadow. I know you brought a little bit more light into it, so you know you could even take some shadows and cast them over here.
I see.
And then leave some parts in light and maybe have a little more shadow or something, you know, if you wanted to do something.
Maybe, yeah, just some more light and dark. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, I got it.
Separation. Okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Oh. Good. Now, I forgot to ask you, Joe, is it Joe or Joanne? What would you like me to call you?
It's Joe, J-O, that's it.
Yeah, I'm going to call you Joe from now on because I always get stumped on that. All right. All right, now I remember to ask. Okay. Right, so what you did here is, let me get my thing here. You did hit some saturation up into the foreground here, but with a little bit of this, that works. That sends all this back into perspective, back in distance there. I might pop a couple more saturated things up here in the foreground. Now, these are rocks, right?
Yeah, in the front, yes, right up front. Yes.
I think what I do with some of these rocks is take some dark things, some of these shrubs like this,
Mm-hmm.
take a few of those in front of them. Not everywhere, but here and there.
Okay.
Then what you could do is, they might even cast little shadows onto the rock. So you may get a little bit of like a kind of a rock shadow, you know, some shadows onto the rock, just for interest. That's all. So you have some shrubby things, some shadowy things overlapping the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we talked earlier about the switchbacks in the road. I could see, a few more little switchbacky things. It'll kind of narrow back here, and then it'll kind of burst out a little bit wider. Just a little more irregular stuff. And then I would take some of these shrubs right over the road.
Okay.
And that'll give you the more overlapping, the more it'll feel like it's in the distance.
I get lost when I'm trying to add detail too. Like, and you always put me after Henry, and even though he's my teacher, it's a bit intimidating.